Real life isn't like the movies because these little rascals are not getting a happy ending.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. And if you're here today, God bless you. You really must be a glutton for punishment, because that is what this team is dealing out to its fans in these last few days. Today, on today's show, we're just going to talk about the end of this season, because it is so over and it will never be back this year. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, last night in the most must-win game of the season, the Rangers started it in the worst way possible with some of the truly worst at-bats I think I've ever seen from this team in that first inning. From a guy whose name is AJ Bluebaugh, not too far off. That this Rangers offense just could not see him at all. It's like he was literally throwing an invisible baseball, and I'm giving him too much credit here, because they really made him look that much better with just truly some of the worst swing decisions I think I've ever seen. I mean, Jake Berger had about the worst day offensively that you could possibly have. He goes 0 for 2, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Frankly, I don't know how it wasn't a third strikeout. The pitches this man was swinging at could have been thrown behind somebody in the opposite batter's box. Heck, I'm surprised they didn't land in the dugout. They were so far away. And he said, bet. I don't need to take a ball. What is the strike zone? The strike zone is the entire planet. That's the way these Rangers hitters were swinging in that first inning. Wyatt Langford as well. I mean, just truly some awful at-bats from him. And just up and down this lineup, it just wasn't enough in this one. Michael Hellman goes 0 for 3 with a pair of strikeouts. He looked pretty awful as well. He gets lifted for a pinch hitter and Ellis Garcia later on in this one. Then Zeke Duran comes in and pinch runs and gets a stolen base. And Cody Freeman does his little rascal thing. Honestly, shout out to Jonah Heim, who really is the only one offensively who had a great day. Kyle Gagioka did his thing. Young did some things in this one. Ellis Garcia with a pinch hit RBI single to make it just a 1-run game. Alas, it wasn't enough. And Jonah Heim pinch hitting with a couple hits, including a moonshot homer. I mean, he is doing his darndest to not let this season die, but it's too little. It's too late. And this thing is flat out over. The Rangers are now 3.5 back of Boston for that final wild card spot, because the Boston Red Sox have been in a tailspin as of late, and the Rangers have not been able to take advantage of it. They are not even the first team out of the wild card at this point. They have been passed by the Cleveland Guardians, and they are 4 games back of those Houston Astros. They are 4.5 back of the Seattle Mariners, who on a 10-game winning streak, because every team in front of them just keeps bending over and saying, Here, take your best shot at me. Why should you have to play a difficult team down the stretch? It is just absolutely infuriating to watch this game. And then Merrill Kelly, who is the real letdown in this one. In the game of the season, the reason you trade for this guy is because he won't piss his pants in the biggest game of the season. Well, that's exactly what he did. He pissed all up and down his leg. Those pants are just covered in urine. 3 innings, 9 hits, 1 walk, and 6 earned runs in the biggest game of the season. And heck, this offense almost came back in this one. Shout out to the bullpen, who, for the most part, did its job. Cole Winn gives up one inherited runner, but everybody else through 5 shutout innings combined. Cole Winn, Danny Coulomb, Carl Edwards Jr., Chris Martin coming in this one after I thought he was going to be done for the season, the way he exited that game against the Mets on, I believe that was Saturday. but he did his job. Merrill Kelly did not. This was a flat out pantsing. And of course, the cherry on top of the sundae is the Rangers. Stop me if you heard this before. Please, someone stop me if you've heard this before. I would like to be stopped and stop saying this about this team. But they had chances with runners in scoring position, and they did not capitalize. What a fitting way to go out this season. The pitching that has been incredible all season long, pees all up and down its leg. And the offense, who hasn't been able to do a darn thing with runners in scoring position all season long, continues to not be able to do a darn thing with runners in scoring position. The Rangers are probably going to lose the tiebreaker. They had a chance to just win this series, win this season series against the Houston Astros, something they have not done since 2016, outside of that one postseason series. They have not won a regular season Silver Root series against this banged up, absolute crap Astros team. This is not a good Astros team. There have been plenty of good Astros teams. This is not one of them. They are trotting out their Carlos Correa, who is terrible. They're trotting out Jose Altuve, who has been awful this year. Christian Walker, who is another first baseman. They thought surely this old first baseman will save us this time, paying him $20 million a year, just like we did the last one that was absolutely awful. So bad he was out of the league before that contract was up. But that hasn't worked for them. It's worked well enough because it's working better than the Rangers. It's working better than what the Rangers have done this season. I mean, for the last 3 weeks, we have been asking this team to either poop or get off the pot in terms of contention. And, well, at the very end, they got up off the pot and their pants were still around their ankles and they tripped and they fell and then they pooped themselves. That's how this story ends, with poop and pee everywhere, all over themselves, for everyone to see. Of, hey, look at this team. Look at what they did in the clutch. This is now 2 years in a row that they bought at the deadline and then will not even make the postseason. Heck, they may not even be the first team out in the postseason. And if not for Kansas City's just absolute fall off, they might have been the third team out. And thankfully, I think they're at least going to finish ahead of Kansas City. I don't know if they're even a better team than Kansas City. I don't know how good a team this team is at this point. It is just absolutely infuriating. This is the most infuriating baseball team, sports team, group of human beings I have ever had the displeasure of forcing myself to watch for 162 plus games. The plus is not at the back end, it's at the front end in spring training, unfortunately. But this is awful. This was downright awful. I mean, shout out to the guys for not giving up. My girlfriend was trying to be optimistic and saying, "Hey, look, they didn't give up. They didn't get shut out. They rallied for 4 runs in the 8th." And well, that's true, and I appreciate her optimism. But at this point in the season, all that matters is wins and losses. They have 10 games left, and they have to be 4 games better, 3.5 games better than the Boston Red Sox in their final 10 games. And at this point, what about this season makes you think they might do that? Nothing. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections. You can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. If you're picking more or less, you can't do it with wins and losses. But if you pick the Rangers, you just pick more on that loss column, pick more on their hitter strikeout column. Just pick less on making me happy while watching baseball. This week's max discounts include Patrick Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. I feel like he's probably going to do that. So download the PrizePicks apps today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. I wish the Rangers were occasionally. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back, and I'll be talking about this baseball team and Jacob deGrom's penultimate start for the season, which it just reminds me of another reason why I am incredibly infuriated with this Texas Rangers squad. You had the best pitching staff in all of baseball this season. This is the best pitching staff I've ever seen by a Texas Rangers squad. You had Nathan Eovaldi with a sub-2 ERA in 130 innings. Not even close to 2. It was a 1.73 ERA in 130 innings. He was absolutely incredible. You had Jack Leiter breaking out as a rookie starting pitcher and putting together a really solid season. A tough last start, for sure. And had the Rangers bullpen been a little bit more rested, had Danny Coulomb been able to come back a day earlier, then maybe we're having a different conversation there. Maybe the Rangers did pull one out and win the season series, and maybe things go differently on Tuesday, and maybe that's different. You got a 4.2 ERA out of Patrick Corbin. You got 28 starts, and you'll probably have 150 innings out of him that you signed off the scrap heap 2 days before the season started. I mean, what a win there. I've been frustrated with Patrick Corbin for sure, but he has been enormously helpful and a billion times better than you ever could have expected. Heck, you had Tyler Mahle for 14 starts. Maybe he'll make a 15th here at the end of the season for, I don't know what reason, maybe establishing some free agent value, because it's sure not going to be to push this team into the postseason. He had a 2.34 ERA in 14 starts, 77 innings. He was absolutely incredible for those first 2.5 months of the season. And what are you going to get from it? Nothing. Heck, you had Corey Seager having a 6 WAR season in 102 games played so far. Maybe he'll make it back this weekend just in time to watch the Rangers struggle to cross the finish line. And you're not going to get much out of that. You had a 5 WAR season from a 23-year-old outfielder. And this is going to be one of the most perplexing baseball reference pages for people to go back and look at and see, wow, they had so many good players. How did they not make the postseason? I'm going to tell you, friends, is because this team is a bunch of tricksters. They are a bunch of little rapscallion hooligans that make you believe just that little bit more. Just that one more time. I really, it almost feels like Cowboys fandom at this point, in that, every year people get optimistic about the Cowboys, and then every year they just let you down and down and down again. But at least the Cowboys, usually they'll just do it like once a season. You're like, all right, I'm actually out this year. Next year, I'll probably be back and fall for the same thing. But this year, it was so many times that they had belief after belief after belief after belief. I mean, this team should be 5 games up on a postseason spot. This should be done and dusted. There should be no way that this team is, well out of it at this point with 10 games left, but they are. That's the reality of where they are. And I was watching Ted Lasso last night in the last episode of season 1, just an absolutely incredible television program. If you haven't checked it out, you absolutely need to. But there's this moment where it is just such a beautiful setup of the team, has that hope and belief. They nearly slay their giant, and then they get relegated at the very last second by the player that was leading their team earlier on in that season. And there's a speech that Ted Lasso gives at the end of the season that just says, there's this phrase that it's the hope that kills you. He said, I hate that phrase. He talks about the importance of hope and belief. And, I'm of two minds of that. I'm wanting to agree with Ted Lasso because I usually do. But there's also some truth to that, the hope killing you. If this team had just been bad, just been mid all season long, they put themselves in a very different place. You got 2 top 10 pitching prospects that you gave away for Merrill Kelly to pee himself in the most important game of your season. Those guys are incredible prospects. I'm wishing them a very happy career. I really would have rather it be for the Texas Rangers, but it's not going to be at this point. There's some other prospects that they gave up for some relievers who have helped. Phil Maton has been helpful. Danny Coulomb at times has been helpful, and other times very deeply unhelpful. But, where would we be if not for these little rascals? Where would we be if not for those little moments of joy over the last couple of weeks? they've ruined it. They've soiled a lot of it in the last 3 days. You have a 3-game losing streak in September of 3 very winnable games, especially that game on Sunday against the Mets. You really should have closed out that sweep, and they really should not have peed themselves in this one in such horrendous fashion. But they did. But I don't know. I don't know where do you stand on your view of these little rascals, these little scrappy kids like Cody Freeman, like Michael Hellman, like Alejandro Ozuna, like Dustin Harris, who just gave us that little glimmer of hope over the last couple of weeks. It's pretty easy to be cynical and just say, well, they didn't do it, so who cares? Well, they didn't make the postseason, so who cares? I'm doing an impression of myself because that's kind of how I felt over these last couple weeks. Because I'll be honest, them making the postseason has quite a few massively negative financial implications for myself and the show. Because there's going to be a whole lot fewer people listening in October. I can guarantee that. If you do want to check in and try and help keep me afloat in this show, I would greatly appreciate it. But I also wouldn't blame you if you tuned out. If you've already tuned out, if you've already said, yeah, I'm done listening and caring about baseball for the season, I don't blame you. If it wasn't my job, I probably would be right there with you. But I'm not. And I want to be a little bit more optimistic than I've been. Be a little bit more looking on the bright spot, because it's been a tough year. Honestly, your boy has been fighting some demons in a battle with depression. It has been pretty grueling this year, and this team has not particularly helped. But for a few moments there, they did. Some moments of joy with those little rascals. Heck, Michael Hellman going off, 29-year-old rookie who has never been on prospect list, who has never been this hyped guy, just having the series of his life against the best team in baseball in September in a pennant chase. That's fun. That's why you enjoy baseball. Heck, having Jack Leiter have some incredible starts, even though they were ruined. Some of them were ruined, especially that one against the Diamondbacks. Watching him bounce back against that Diamondback squad, even though the offense pooped the bed one of many times in that game, that was a fun start. Heck, watching Jacob deGrom fight and battle through it, go 7 innings in his first time back there in Citi Field, and be a qualifier. Heck, watching Jacob deGrom at all this season come back after missing just so much time. The man's made 28 starts. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He is a qualifier. He has pitched over 162 innings, where the last time he pitched over 100 innings, there wasn't we didn't know what COVID-19 was. That's the last time he pitched over 100 innings. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. It is very difficult to come back from your second Tommy John surgery at age 37, have a resurgent season. I mean, it'd be absolutely phenomenal out there every 5th day. Outside of those couple starts against the Angels, man, you take those away, that this season is really in a different spot. I mean, you look at just game after game after game that they could have and should have won. And maybe we just go back and look at game after game where, we didn't think they were going to, and they pulled it out. Like that game against Arizona at home before they blew the 2 subsequent ones. When Nathan Eovaldi just did not have it, and the Rangers come back in miracle fashion with a walk-off. That was an incredible game. Heck, dropping 6 runs on Jonah Tong, that poor kid, in the first inning of Citi Field before Jacob deGrom even got on the mound in that Friday game. That was fun. Heck, just those comebacks against the Brewers. Merrill Kelly gives up back-to-back homers against the best team in baseball. And then this team says, nah, we're going to come back against your best starter. We're going to drop 5 runs on him when he hadn't given up a single run in 29 innings heading into that game. That's some special moments. That's the hope that gives you life. That's not the hope that kills you. It's hard to hold on to that hope and to find that optimism and that joy in a season where, frankly, I'd really rather it be someone other than the Houston Astros that ruined this season, because I bet there's a lot of Astros fans who are hate watching this and who have such miserable, pathetic lives that they can only find joy in someone else being miserable. I hope this brings you that joy, because your life seems probably If this is what you're doing with your time, it seems maybe like you could find some better hobbies to do. Go learn how to crochet or something. I don't know. I'd really rather it be against anyone other than this Astros team, and it makes me furious to keep losing to those cheating a-holes over there. That it really grinds my gears. And it really just is so incredibly frustrating to watch it happen time and time and time again, that this team had so many chances and lost it. And while there's not much hope left, I feel like we should look back a little bit at this season, at the moments that did bring us that little bit of hope. All that and more after this. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, so you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever even touching a spreadsheet. You can identify if you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps give you that notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. The show is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, or heck, maybe a football game live. But the energy of the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And well, after this last game, I bet the tickets for this final homestand are probably going to be a little bit cheaper with some games against those Miami Marlins and the Minnesota Twins. Heck, you maybe even get to see a win or two from this Texas Rangers squad. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with the Locked On Rangers postcast, commiserating for all 10 games that are left in this season, and maybe by some absolute miracle of miracles, a postseason game or two, because I think it would take nothing shy of a miracle to get to that postseason. But Jeff Biggs is with you in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, commiserating with you for all 162. But there have been some magical moments of this season. Wyatt Langford did not have the best day yesterday, but the overall picture of his season, getting a 2020 season with a stolen bag last night after working a walk on a pitch that they knew he was going. They absolutely knew he was going. They threw it over 2 times immediately, and Wyatt Langford said, "I'm off and racing." That is an incredible accomplishment for a guy who is still so incredibly young. I mean, so young that I think you have to be 25 years old to run for Congress. I don't think Wyatt Langford's going to do that, but he's still 2 years away from being able to do that. He's 2 years away from being able to rent a car. That's the milestone I was thinking of, to be 25 years old. He's still so incredibly young, and having a 5-win season at such a young age, there is some reasons for optimism there. I mean, some of these magical walk-off moments, heck, picking up so many guys off the scrap heap and turning them into valuable winning players. Rowdy Tellez, some of the moments that he had, including that big 3-run homer in one of his very first games that ended up being the difference in that game. I mean, truly some incredible moments from the big boys, some incredible moments from Jock Peterson. That comeback win against the New York Yankees, when it looked like they were absolutely done and dusted. Jock Peterson, the pinch hit game tying homer. I mean, what an incredible moment that was after just such a rough stretch of this season for Jock Peterson to be able to come back in the second half and not be washed, to contribute, to truly contribute in this season in some big moments was huge. And it'll be important for next year because he's still on the books. He's still going to have some moments there. I mean, getting Dylan Moore, who has got a 965 OPS with the Rangers in 13 games. Like that's incredible stuff. Dustin Harris getting the walk-off in 12 innings, just 3 weeks after being designated for assignment, just sent back down to the minors. Nobody wants you. Nobody's going to take a flyer on you at the big leagues, but the Rangers still want to keep you and bring you up to have that moment of magic in that walk-off scenario in 12 innings. That was beautiful. I mean, truly inspiring. And Kyle Higashioka catching fire after another really rough start. And Jake Berger, outside of that last game, I mean, that was pretty bad. But the stretch there that Jake Berger has been on since the All-Star break has been truly incredible. And I mean, he was doing so poorly, he got sent down to the freaking minor league. Same with Josh Young, also sent down to AAA. Josh Young, an All-Star, had such a bad month that the Rangers just straight up sent him down to the minors. Then he comes back and goes on a 10-game hitting streak, including a 5-game multi-hit streak. I think he's still getting a little bit more scoring than he probably deserves for how last night ended. And heck, Evan Carter having an incredible season. I mean, starting the year in such a rough place where I thought, oh, I don't know if this guy's ever going to see the majors again. I mean, he looks so rough in spring training, dealing with that back injury, that chronic back injury, trying to get that under wraps and just fixed up and figure out how to be a functioning human, let alone baseball player at 22 years old, dealing with chronic back issues. And then he comes up and after some pretty rough stretches down there in the minors, comes up and, looks pretty awesome. Then goes back on the IL with another injury and comes back and looks incredible yet again. I mean, him being a 2-WAR player in 63 games, that's exceptional and truly such a bummer. I mean, how different would this season be had Evan Carter not been? They just had one fewer injury in the last, 4 weeks. They should have done more work to the point where they could have survived and held on when you have Marcus Semien out for a month on the IL for the first time since, I don't know, the George Bush administration. It feels like it's been since he's been hurt at all. I mean, you have the injury to Corey Seager, the random appendectomy. I mean, heck, Jake Berger coming off the IL and then going right back on the IL. I mean, Evan Carter's injury and also Chris Martin dealing with that calf strain. I mean, it just thing after thing after thing, and let alone Nathan Eovaldi's injury. That one was a really, really tough blow. But I mean, losing bat after bat after bat, it really goes to show you how miraculous it is that they even got to this point where they were still in it. I mean, heck, Adolis Garcia's injury. I mean, all-star after all-star after all-star hitting the IL. It is truly miraculous that the group led by Michael Hellman, Cody Freeman, and a little bit of Rowdy Tellez said, hey, why don't we lead this team on one of the most improbable runs of the season anywhere in baseball? Because they did have their moment, despite being the most maddening, frustrating, just make me want to put my head through a concrete wall kind of a baseball team. They have had some moments of joy, and they might have one or two more between now and the end of the season. I would really like it if they could go out there, Jacob deGrom throw 6 shutout innings or 5 shutout innings, and then in the top of the 6th inning, this team explodes for a 50 spot in one inning. That would be nice. I don't think that's going to necessarily happen, but it would be a whole lot of fun. They might go on a 10-game winning streak between now and the end of the season and sneak in there to one of those final wildcard spots, because It's mathematically possible. I mean, heck, the Mariners are on a 10-game winning streak right now. So why couldn't the Rangers have one of their own 10-game winning streaks? If they have a 10-game winning streak, it is impossible for them to get to 90 wins at this point. They could get to 89 and just barely creak in there. This Boston Red Sox team, they're not exactly, a juggernaut. They've been incredible at times, but they're also dealing with a lot of injuries and a pretty suspect pitching staff at this point. And they just dropped one to the no longer in Oakland A's. And they've got 2 more games against that A's squad where they're going to have themselves a tough schedule between now and the end of this year. The Astros have 3 games against the Mariners, and nobody's been able to stop them. So maybe the Rangers take this last one, have the season tiebreaker, and just barely sneak in there and then fight off the Guardians in those final 3 games. They've got, after today, 9, heck, they've got 10 games left, and they're all pretty darn winnable. You got 6 of them against teams that have absolutely nothing to play for. One of them that will decide the season tiebreaker, and probably if it's not already decided, that they're any kind of playoff hopes tonight. You got Jacob deGrom on the hill and a mostly rested A side of your bullpen. Surely you can pump out 3-4 runs against the basically rehabbing at the big league level Christian Javier, and maybe at least put the feather in your cap this year of having that Silver Boot Series win, which should have already been wrapped up by this point in the season. But alas, this is where we are, that it comes down to this final day. But hey, they've given us some moments. They've given us some joy. They've given us a lot of madness, a lot of frustration, and a lot of weird storylines of a podcaster being the hitting coach. Hey, if you're looking for another podcaster to change it up for a hitting coach next year, give me a call. I've got some pretty reasonable salary expectations, and I am very willing to be fired ceremonially and blamed for all the problems next year. You give me a decent contract. Christian, give me a call. I'm very, very open to that next year. But that's kind of where we are. It's next year at this point because of a truly horrifying way to lose your playoff hopes for the season to the team you hate the most, and in a game that you absolutely had to have. This team, unfortunately, just did not have it. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, try and find some way to enjoy baseball.